Well, a very good morning, everyone, and Namo Buddhaya. That means homage to the Buddha. Today's talk will be the Wheel of Life, and you might be wondering what the Wheel of Life is all about. First of all, if you were to travel to the Himalayas, which I do very often because I lead groups over to Tibet, to Ladakh, to Bhutan, you will see a painting like this on the wall, on the monastery walls. You might actually like to take some pictures and say, wow, this is very nice art of the local people. But the thing is, when we look at this painting like this on the wall, a mural, do we know what it means? There is a lot of meaning inside this picture. And in fact, what I have done is I'm going to speak about the Wheel of Life. This represents the Wheel of Life. You are also given handouts. And in my presentation, I will give different parts of the wheel so that at the end of this talk, you will be able to understand this wheel and maybe explain to others what it really means. And you will begin to understand that this wheel is very significant. It's really understanding the Dhamma. How do you explain some very deep concept of Buddhism to people who could not read and write? So I think the Tibetans have very, very wisely managed to summarize the core teachings of the Buddha into a diagram like this. This happens to be my tourist guide when we were in Bhutan. Karma, his name is Karma. All right. Now the thing is, there are various modes of existence. Some of the realms of existence are more pleasant than others. And the quality of life that one experiences in the realms of existence corresponds with the quality of one's karma, right? So when we act out of kindness and love, and this is something that we encourage you to do, because as Brother Lai has very nicely explained that I've been leading Metta for many years in BGF. Actually, it started in 1997. So if you can calculate how long ago was 1997, that's close to what? 20 over years right now? 28 years, huh? It's not 20 years, 28 years. And now we have gone online. So I do cyber metta. Sometimes the people that attend live metta could be between 20 to 40, sometimes 50. But after that, because it is on YouTube, I see the numbers go up even over 100. So people do catch up and practice later. So when we begin to act with kindness and love, we bring lots of benefit to ourselves and others. This is what we consider to be a positive action. When we commit harmful deeds with bad intentions, this is negative karma, right? If our motivation is indifferent, then the rewards or the punishment, there's no reward punishment, or these are neither harmful or beneficial. We call this a neutral action. Now, why I begin to say this is because when we look at the Wheel of Life, there will be explanation of different realms of existence. Actually, when the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, when he saw the Wheel of Life that you have in front of you, which summarized in front of you, he saw conditionality. What is conditionality? That things do not just happen just like that. It is not because somebody planned or do a master plan for each of us. Because everything arises because of multiple causes and it gives rise to effect. And from the effect itself become a cause for the next round of effects. So this is an action, a circle of action and reaction, effects and causes. So as beings move along the realms, this is what we call the Wheel of Life. Wheel of Life is how we keep going round and round. Life is bhava. Wheel is chakra. So in Pali it's called bhava chakra. Bhava chakra means the Wheel of Life. It talks about how we migrate in this Wheel of Life from one realm of existence to the other according to our karma. Ajahn Brahm has given a very nice analogy, like all of us are traveling in this coach. So the coach will stop at one station and we get onto the coach and hey, what do we see inside the coach? Different people, some of the people we have met actually previously, and we have discussions, enjoyment, maybe have some coffee and tea and chit chat, maybe sing some songs and all that. And after traveling for a while, the coach will stop, and some people from this coach will actually get down while other people get up, right? Get into the coach. And then we see, oh, we've got some new people here, but too bad, some of the people that we love, we have to say bye-bye, but as they leave at the stop, and the coach goes on. So the coach will travel and will stop at different stations, and then finally he stops and say, okay, you have a, like when you go to the restaurants, they got the little beeper, beep, 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 beep. That means your food is ready to be collected. And it says, oh, okay, it is my turn now. I've actually arrived at my station. It's a time for me to get down and say bye-bye, everybody, and you get on the coach, and the coach goes on. So it's just like that. We travel, and of course, after that, then we get into another coach. It doesn't end from there, and then in the other coach, we get a different set of people that we interact. So it is like this. We migrate from one realm of existence to another according to our karma. So based on what we do, karma is these intentional actions that we perform. They could be both good and bad, and you get born in each of these realms. So performing good deeds will lead you to happy realms of rebirth, and negative actions will lead to unhappy realms. So this is what we say. In Pali, the raised wheel of life is called Bhava Chakra. Bhava Chakra. So this Bhava Chakra is a symbolic representation of what we mean by a cyclic existence. All right? We call it the wheel of life. Sometimes it is called the wheel of cyclic existence, or the wheel of becoming, because it is always in the process of becoming. So the wheel of life is a symbolic representation of samsara. Samsara. It is a cyclic existence, samsara. It's this circle that we keep traveling, birth and death. Of course, I know there's a perfume called samsara. I'm not sure why they call it samsara. Maybe to keep you on this world, wheel of life. So as I mentioned, this representation of the wheel of life is found on the walls of Tibetan Buddhist temples, and also in the monasteries of the Indo-Tibetan region. So some of you have in fact traveled with me, and you will see this painting. Of course, there is a legend that says that the wheel was designed by the Buddha himself in order to help ordinary people to understand the Buddhist teachings. But true enough, when we look at the wheel, then you can really understand the wheel of life. Okay, so this is like a wheel of life. It is constantly turning. All right. This is the wheel that turns from day and night, from life to life. It is conditionality, and as the wheel turns, we can go in circles, right? So our life here goes in circles. Sometimes you can wander around and around and seem to get nowhere. That is just going round and round. It's like but sometimes you can go in round, but you go upwards as well, yeah? Or you can go downwards, and this is called a spiral. So a spiral just doesn't go round, it also moves in a certain direction. Okay, so you have a painting something like this, a wheel of life. Okay, Bhava Chakra. This is a complete form, and the wheel of life, Bhava Chakra. So it is like the wheel actually, when we say looking at the wheel of life, actually I'm inviting you to look into the wheel of life. It's just not looking at it like a pretty picture, nice painting, nice work of art, but to look inside it so that you can get some understanding about yourself, right? And so in terms of the parts of this diagram, there are various images. You can actually refer to the paper that you have. Right in the center it represents. You see some animals down there. Yeah? It represents the three poisons, which is greed, hatred, and delusion. The second layer, the second wheel, represents the karma. The third layer represents the 6 realms of samsara, 6 realms of existence. The fourth layer represents the 12 dependent origination. And then you have, it's almost like a demon monster holding the wheel, right? And this is known as Yama, the Lord of Death, because he represents impermanence. Everything in samsara is impermanent. And then you have a moon, which represents liberation from samsaric or cyclic existence, and the Buddha pointing to a direction. Do you see all that in your diagram? Right, yeah. Okay, so now we will go through this one by one. Okay, then now let us go to the first mirror, to the first wheel. The wheel at the core of everything else. It is like in the morning when you get up and then you go to the mirror, looking at the mirror, and you expect to see your face. But actually you don't see your face, you're shocked that there are 3 things that you actually see. You will see a pig, you see a snake, and you see a bird. And you say, oh, I look like that. But that represents the core of what is inside you. This is what we call the 3 poisons. And this mirror, center mirror, is what has kept you in samsara. That is you. That is what is in your mind. That is the one that keeps you a prisoner of samsara. Now, what does it represent? These animals, you see, wow, I'm an animal inside. The first is a pig. Oh my goodness. Inside you is a pig. And what do the pig represent? The pig represents ignorance, moha. And you know, this is the one that gets us into trouble because of the lack of wisdom, lack of insight. That is why we got into a lot of trouble from life to life, into realms of suffering. And of course, you know, the pig sleeps in the dirtiest places and eats whatever comes to its mouth. So a pig is really ignorant. Then as you look in the mirror, oh, you see the pig, oh, inside me, I have this inherent ignorance. The second is a snake. Oh, I got a snake inside me. And what do the snake represent? The snake represents aversion or anger, dosa. Aversion, anger. Do you have anger? Do you have aversion? Yes, all of us do. We have anger and aversion because in the first place we have moha, we have ignorance. Because of the ignorance, we see things in a very twisted manner and we react, out of anger when things are unpleasant, things don't please us. That is how we respond with anger, dosa. And another one that you see, oh, it is a bird or a cockroach. It's got red fiery eyes. This one, the cockroach represents desire, all right, attachment. Actually, why they use a cockroach is because in India, it seems that the bird is very attached to its partner. So there is this kind of attachment, the desire, so they use a cockroach. So in some of the paintings that you see, the snake and the bird seems to come out from the mouth of the pig. That means actually aversion and attachment arises from ignorance. That is a deep insight that the Buddha has shared with us, and we also understand. And the bird and the snake is grasping the tail of the pig, which means that the hatred and greed feeds into ignorance. So ignorance gives rise to greed and hatred gives rise against, connected to ignorance. So they promote greater ignorance. So actually, it is under the influence of these 3 poisons that we create karma. So at the core of everything else, the core of our existence is these 3 animals. That's the one that keeps us bounded to the wheel. Right? Even that, we can go home, we can say, oh, wonderful, we have already got a very deep insight about what we have. Just the center thing, the center mirror. But after you see this, you say, now I get an insight into what is it that motivates me, what is it that keeps me bounded to the wheel. But you say, maybe I want to find out more. I do not want to stop, I do not want to close shop and go home now. So what do? You look in the mirror again. And then you see another wheel. This is the wheel around the circumference of the center wheel. And let's see what this wheel says. This is the second layer. The second layer of our wheel of life. And here we see that this layer, this is like it's like a donut around the center, like a donut. There are two parts of this donut. One part of the donut is bright, and you can see how beings ascend, and they seem to be happy, moving upwards. And there is the other part which is dark, where beings seems to descend in darkness, and they seem to be going down. Okay, now let's just find out a little bit more. So in this second layer, it is divided into two halves. So a white half and a black half. And in both halves, you have figures of men and women. Okay? So in the lighted part, they seem to be contented people moving upwards to higher states, possibly to higher realms. All right? And the other one is dark, people in miserable state moving downwards, maybe to the lower realms. And actually this represents karma, the law of cause and effect. It shows us our destination. It shows us our tendencies. Because of this greed, hatred, and delusion, if you do not know how to handle that, and maybe remove that, we actually move to the darker part, darker half of the donut, of the wheel. This is when the people could move from darkness to more darkness. People wandering around, misleading other people, and they move into deeper states of misery. Sometimes we see people like that. Not only do they get into trouble, they get other people into trouble, and they go into deep and deeper trouble. Okay? But if you know how to deal with the greed, hatred, and delusion that is at the core of our being, then we can get into the lighted part. This is when we move from light to greater light. All right? So you move into illumination, you get into company, friends that encourage you to practice, that elevates your mind. We are not like, the moment we are born, we are not really like a piece of stone that you cannot do anything about it. We are evolving. And your evolution, your growth depends on the influences that you get and your motivations that lie at the core, the center wheel. What is the center part that is motivating you? Is it the negative part? Because if it's a negative part, as a being that is moving, that is growing, you actually begin to move into some lower states. But if you associate with good people, you get good teachings, you get good Dhamma teachers. Maybe you come to more BGF center and attend the courses. We have very good online courses as well, yeah? And also videos. Then you meet friends, actually. A very important part of our spiritual development is meeting with friends, spiritual friends, because it's the spiritual friends that encourage us, and who reminds us, because we also slack. Right? Some days you're up, other days you're down. So sometimes you need friends to encourage you, to tell you about things, right? So sometimes like going for a retreat, friends say, hey, do you know there's this retreat, there's this teacher? And you say, okay, I'm interested. And they say, come on, and bring you the enrollment form, help you to sign. And then eventually, after going down there, you have discovered new things, all right? So it is this friendship that helps to put you on the right track, put you in the brighter part of the wheel. So which part do you want to be, the darker part or the lighter part? Since all of you are in VGS Center, I guess it must be the lighter part. Yeah? We all like to elevate ourselves, to move up. Yeah, we like to leave this world, like I was mentioning about Ajahn Brahm's analogy of going to the coach. The moment we get into the coach, we become a much better person than when we first get into the coach, because of the transformation that's occurred while we're in the coach. Important insights, important connections that we have made, inspiration that we get as we remain in the coach. So we like to think like that. As we get into the coach, we started from that form, but when we leave, it is plus one, and so on. It becomes a much more enhanced person. And you feel confident, even if you have to leave at the bus stop, you are confident in leaving because you know that you have left your life very well. And all because of the inspiration that you get from the Buddha Dhamma, your practice, and all. You can actually see the quality of your heart and mind. When you first started, it's easy to get irritated, to get angry, to fly off the hook, right? But later on through your cultivation, you also develop more kindness. as you begin to understand the situations of people, there's more kindness in you, more compassion. And you also could see that inside you also needs compassion. You also need love inside. And so this is the process of transformation that occurs, all right? So the first circle, now we talk about the second circle. Are we moving in the brighter part of the circle, or are we moving downwards? So, of course, I will encourage everybody else to get onto the brighter side, not to the darker part. All right, so this is an important insight, telling us about how much control does the three poisons have over our actions and speech. And when they arise, do we know how to deal with that? Do you know how to deal with your anger and with your greed? And this is when learning how to do some mental cultivation really helps us to understand ourselves and in order to put things under proper control. And when you do that, it is possible for us to move to the lighter part of the wheel. All right? Okay, so this is the second wheel. First is the cause of why we are here. Second is the direction that we are going. And now you feel that's not enough. You want to know some more. So you look into the mirror again. And what do you see? Wow. You see another donut-like thing. It's like a mirror. But 2, 4, 6. It has 6 portions. It's like a nice pizza that you can cut and each having a piece. Huh? And each of this, I do not know why this occurs. Huh? Why is that occurring up there? It shows video participants and oh, okay, this could be sharing, posting. This could I'm not sure. Well, never mind. If you look at the first portion, if you can actually see it here, you could see, wow, some beings that seems to be like enjoying themselves. All right, there is some kind of like a godlike figure with some attendants, and the place looks lovely. And this is what you call heaven, the Deva world. Do you want to get to the Deva world to be like that? Not bad, right? Nice. Then as you move rightwards at the 2 o'clock position, what do you see? Here you have beings with weapons. And this is known as the realm of asuras. Asuras could be said demons. So they are filled with jealousy and envy. This is the realm of jealousy and envy. The third wheel, if you look at the 4 o'clock position, this is like beings with things piercing on their stomach, and there seems to be like flames coming from their mouth, and there is one being a big body but small neck, trying to get a drink from the stream. This is the will of the hungry ghost of Peta. It is characterized by longing, frustration, and craving. And in the 6th position, 6 o'clock position is what you call hell, where you have distress and depression, beings in states of suffering. At the 8 o'clock position, this is the animal realms. You see all kinds of birds and animals. So the animal realms, it is a realm of ignorance and base passion. And at the 10 o'clock position is the human realm, the balance of happiness and sorrow. This talks about destinations where you can land up to. And these are planes that we take rebirth. It's like we say this bus, coach traveling, and it comes to the bus stop, you get down to the bus and you land up in one of these worlds, right? You say, oops, where am I now? When you step out of your coach, you landed in a world. So obviously, people wants to be born in a happy realm, not in the realms of suffering. But there is also another way of looking at these 6 realms, because they actually refer to our mental states, psychological states that we can experience while living this life itself. And we also undergo through all these experiences. Now I will explain to them. Okay? So the 6 realms could be cut into 2. So this is the 3rd layer of the wheel, with 6 sections, and each of them representing the 6 realms of existence. And the 6 realms, they've divided into 3 higher realms and 3 lower realms. What are the 3 higher realms? They're really on the top part of the circle. And in the top part of the circle, you've got the God realm or the Deva realm. You've got the demigod, they're called demigod or asuras, realm of the asuras, and the human realm. And so the God realm, the Deva realm, is at the top, in the middle, and then you've got the human realm on the 10 o'clock side, and demigods in the 2 o'clock side, on both sides of the Deva realm. These are the higher realms. Even asuras are in the higher realm, okay? And then you have the 3 lower realms. In the 3 lower realms, you will have the 6 o'clock position is the hell realm. And on both sides of the hell realm, you've got the animal realm that's at 8 o'clock position, and the hungry ghost realm, which is at the 4 o'clock position. Okay, so these are like destinations or our mental states. So the psychological interpretation of this is that each of this realm is not so much as a specific place, but it is more like a metaphor of different psychological states. And the entire wheel becoming a representation of a neurotic suffering. So this goes back to the idea of samsara. What is samsara? So these 6 realms, sometimes we talk about 31 realms of existence, but that 31 is actually breaking these 6 realms into more detail. So for simplicity's sake, we say 6 realms. There are states that beings can enter into, and each represents different types of suffering. Even the Deva realm is also suffering. Yeah, that is samsara. Samsara or cyclic existence refers to the process of going round and round through one rebirth to another. It's like a fly trapped into a closed jar. Whenever we are born in the higher or the lower realms, we are never outside the samsara. We are always moving inside. Regardless of whether it is a happy realm or it is an unhappy realm, we are still trapped within samsara. Okay? So the upper part of the jar is like the higher realms of the gods and men, and the lower realms are like 3 unfortunate realms. So samsara is a circle that we go round and round. We take rebirth in one after another in each of these 6 realms as a result of our actions, and whether positive or negative. And it is always based on ignorance. And you got greed and hatred. Remember the core, the core of your will. That's the one. Now, let us go through each of these realms so that you can recognize the realms. Remember, this is the third wheel that you're looking at. First wheel, second wheel, third wheel. In the third wheel, first the Deva realm. Deva realm, this is the realm where gods live a long and enjoyable lives full of pleasure and abundance. Are you in the God's realm now? Are you enjoying your life now? Do you have all the conveniences of your home, lovely? When it rains, you're not afraid of rain leaking inside your home. You're not afraid of people bombing. Everything is secure. When it's hot, you use handset to turn on the aircon. And then you go to the toilet to wash yourself. You don't have to go to the pond to carry the water on your back. And when it comes to washing the clothes, you just throw in the machine and the machine does all the work. You don't have to squat and start scrubbing. Yeah. And the food on the table, you don't have to struggle. Open the fridge, wow, so many things inside to eat. Right? So actually, we are in a very fortunate realm. Yeah? Very happy. Yeah? But actually, the God's realm is even more enhanced than that. They live long and enjoyable lives. Happy, they're happy, full of happiness and abundance. So sometimes they say the gods can live for a very, very long time. Many centuries, they can live long, happy lives. Great happiness. And it is a state of being happy. Also, when we say heavenly realm, as a human being, when your mind is happy, when your mind is relaxed, or contented and reposed. Okay? So, This is when everything that you want can proceed without obstacles. No hindrances. You want something, it can be done. It will happen. Things move very easily in your life. No obstacles, no difficulties, no problems. That's nice, right? And also a state of ecstatic experience. That is when you see everything is beautiful, wonderful, very pleasant, pleasing to the ears, pleasing to the eyes, pleasing to taste. And relationships, very nice. People are really nice. Do not cause you heartache and headache. But the issue is sometimes you can be complacent and self-satisfied in this state. Because things are so nice, you tend to be lazy. You begin to sink in comfort and you forget about everything else. You become so self-absorbed. And sometimes you become so self-absorbed that you want things to be done for yourself. And you even forget about helping other people when they're in need. So sometimes you can come to this state. So the problem is that devas can spend their life pursuing meaningless distractions and never think about the practice of Dhamma. So there are many devas who are like that because of the power of the merits they have done. Merits are like your petrol. These days, if you use EV, electrical vehicle, you don't use petrol, you use charge. You use solar power to charge or TNB to charge your car. But as long as there's a charge, so the car can keep going on. So the one that keeps this life going in the Deva world is because of the merits that you have accumulated. And it is said that in the Deva world, it's actually not so easy for them to do merits because everybody is quite happy. And the thing is, sometimes you tend to sink into discomfort and you forget about even doing things that can be of value to others. You just think about yourself, too self-absorbed. It's like some rich kids, little kids being spoiled from young. It's all this me, it's all this I. And they forget about other people and they become very inconsiderate. Yeah? Especially, but some people who come from poor family, because they have to work hard, they have to look after their siblings. The little ones have to carry the little babies, little brothers and sisters, and they develop a sense of responsibility even for young. Because life is tough and they got to help out. So actually they're more helpful. Whereas those who are having too much comfort and luxury, they forget about other people. So sometimes devas can land up like that, and after that, they become self-satisfied and in trouble. Yeah. Ajahn Brahm told a very nice story, I remember many years ago, but he doesn't tell the story now. It's about this person who is born in the heaven, okay? Of course, this is the Western conception of heaven. What do you do when you're in heaven? You're like an angel sitting on a white cloud, fluffy cloud, like a cotton wool, like that. And then, because this Western side, you got to play a harp, plug the harp, hand harp. And then, because it's Western side, you have organ. They think of the church, boom, 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 the organ will play, and you play the harp. So you have been down there for many, many years. And after playing the harp, sitting on this white, fluffy cloud, listening to organ music day after day, what happens? You get a bit fed up. So he goes to the angel in charge of heaven. He says, I do not know what he's called. He says, I'm a bit tired every day playing on this harp, listening to the organ music. Can I have some other things? I heard that there is also another world which is called hell. Maybe I'd like to go and check out, what hell is like. Can I? And the guardian of the heaven says, okay, help yourself, suit yourself. So then, poof, wow, he landed up in hell. And what happened in hell? What did he see in hell? Wow, in hell they are all enjoying themselves. They're having a beach party. Everybody dressed in their bikinis and dancing and having a wild time. And he says, wow, actually hell is so enjoyable. Why am I up there in heaven sitting on the white cloud, playing my harp, listening to organ music every day? So I think he thinks I want to change my residence. So he went up again and asked the guardian of heaven, says, can I instead of being in heaven, because I've been here for too long, can I be in hell? And then the guardian said, oh, suit yourself. And whoosh, he landed in hell. But what did he see this time? Oh, there's no more beach party and all that. He was in a big cauldron of oil. And he was inside, and they were boiling him, and they were poking him with some spears and tridents. And there was a fire below. And he was boiling inside the oil. He said, hey, wait a minute. Where are all the beach party and having all the great time and all that? The one that I saw. And one of the hell beings says, don't worry, that's our advertisement. So you got to be careful when you watch advertisement. Unfortunately for hell, you cannot charge them in court for misrepresentation. So in heaven, beings are in this heavenly state. So the problem is that beings spend their lives pursuing meaningless distractions and never seem to have the time to practice Dhamma. But I must also say that there are also in heaven, a part of heaven that for Dhamma practitioners. So that's the part that we should aim for. Don't go to the part where everybody having fun fair every day. Go to the part where the people practice. And in heaven, if you practice, you can practice very well because you have much less distraction. So there are many good heavenly beings down there, also Dhamma practitioners. Keep to them, hang around them, and maybe we can go much further. Okay, and also for these heavenly beings, because when you're in the state of enjoyment, when death comes, idea of death coming, wow, is so frightening for them, yeah, because they are completely unprepared. They've been enjoying themselves all the time, and without realizing it, their bad karma is actually exhausted. And the signs that they're going to disappear from the heavenly world and be reborn is, heaven, apparently the devas will have garlands around their neck. The garlands, the flowers starts fading, yeah? And then they start sweating and they get really bored. They really get bored. Like this guy sitting on the cloud playing on his harp. You're really getting bored. And these are actually the signs that he's about to pass away. And this is when apparently the heavenly beings will come and wish him bye-bye and goodbye and ask him to be reborn in a happy state. They say, better be born as a human being. Down there you can practice the Dhamma, okay? But when their merits exhaust, they can be reborn in any of these worlds, okay? This is the Deva world. But you notice that in this Deva world, there's a Buddha holding a lute. Now let us go on to the second. So far so good. We are actually heavenly world, so far so good. Huh? So many of us are keeping an eye on heavenly birth. But make sure that when you land up in heaven, you also be with the Dhamma practitioners. Second world is called the demigods or the Asura. Actually, these demigods also have pleasures and abundance. So actually they are in the upper world as well. And they can actually enjoy as much as the gods. They can look actually as good as the gods. Very dashing, especially when you put on their clothes and all that. The costumes, wow, they look wonderful. But the problem with that, there is a problem. Despite all the abundance and pleasure they have, they spend time fighting among themselves, making war on the gods, which they always lose, because the gods are more powerful. So in this Asura, they're always thinking of fighting. Why? What is problem with them? They have feelings of jealousy. Jealousy is very strong. A sense of competition. Oh, they're doing better than me. They're taking advantage of me. They're stealing from me. They're taking us for a ride. We cannot let them beat us like that. I think now you can see world leaders talking like that. And the mental state. Which mental state? Is it number 1 or number 2 or number 3? Okay. So this is the state when they become very aggressive and competitive. When you say, let's work in harmony, let us work in a manner that benefits everybody. No, I must win. I must be number 1. I must be great. This is Asura, actually. And they have a lot of energy, but the energy is channeled into restlessness, suspicion, jealousy. Yeah? And the other thing is that they go after endless material wealth because they want to show off, they want to be better than others. Yeah? They want to be superior. They like to be number 1. And they like the control over others, like holding a gun at your head. Say, okay, submit to my terms. Like using terrorists. A gun at your head, what can you do? Because it's a big power asking you to give in. So you can actually see Asura in action, but we can actually see this in ourselves as well. Sometimes when we get jealous, when we get competitive, when you see, hey, how come somebody else is doing better than me? Sometimes even among siblings, among friends, you have this feeling of competition. All right? So this is the feeling of Asura. And Asura apparently live very close to the God's world. But when they look over the fence, they see, well, God's enjoying themselves. So they get very dissatisfied. And apparently in the gardens of the gods, they have a fruit which is called a wish-fulfilling fruit. It grows in a tree, like an apple tree, but this tree just bears a fruit that, when you get the fruit, all your wishes will be fulfilled. It's called a wish-fulfilling tree. And so Asura wants to get control of this tree. So they will fight with the gods. And sometimes their hands will get chopped off and all that. And they eventually will lose to the gods. So there's a realms of the Asura. And then now moving on to as we move down to the 4 o'clock, this is lower half of the donut. Right? This is the realm of the hungry ghost. Hungry ghost suffers from hunger and thirst, and they wander constantly in search of food and drinks. And they tend to be frustrated because every time they are just about to get something, it slips from their hands. They cannot get it. Yeah? For instance, if you see a stream of pure, clean water in the distance, by the time they get to the water has already dried up. So the way they depict hungry ghosts is they got huge bellies, they got long, thin necks. So in a sense that big belly means they want to eat a lot, but the neck is so thin that very hard for them to get anything into their stomach. Huh? On some rare occasions, when they manage to find something to eat or drink, the food or water burns in their neck and goes down into the belly, so causing them a lot of pain. So one is in the hungry ghost, this is on the psychological side, when you are filled with some neurotic desire. Sometimes you want to demand more from a thing or a person than what they can give. When you become very possessive, some kind of neurosis that you want things for yourself, and you never seem to get enough. And sometimes neurotic desires could occur in a relationship. Sometimes they're partners, husbands and wife. One demanding a lot from the other, much more than the other person can give. It's like a hungry ghost trying to eat up one another, sometimes like that. Hungry ghost. So this is a state of intense longing of never being satisfied. No matter what you have, you're not happy. You're not satisfied. So this is the realm of hungry ghosts. So recognize it when it occurs in your own mind. When you don't feel satisfied, when you cannot put your mind to a state of balance. Actually, there's a mental state of a hungry ghost. Now, moving on to the 6 o'clock position is the realm of the hell. They endure unimaginable suffering for a long, long time. From the traditional Buddhist texts, they say there are 18 different types of hells, each of them having different types of torture. You got the hot hell, where beings suffer heat and do all kinds of torments, and the cold hell, where beings will have to suffer under cold. Actually, this is only to represent the state of torment, of acute mental suffering, of frustration, of mental breakdown. So sometimes when a person feels that hope is completely gone, they have a mental breakdown, their mind becomes confused. It's a state that can lead to insanity brought about by frustration, or sometimes bereavement, loss of somebody that you actually love, or mental conflict. So this is the hell realm. Then the animal realm. Animal realm is animals actually suffer because they are attacked and eaten by other animals, and it always leads to constant fear. Domestic animals are fine. They are looked after by the human beings, but sometimes, very often, being exploited. Sometimes like animals being slaughtered for food, sometimes overworked. Of course, sometimes little dogs and cats, pets, like our pet shop next door, they are very pampered. They are a different category of animal realm. But still, in terms of their mind, they're still trapped within the animal realm, despite the comfort they have. So, one's mind is in the animal realm when you're just happy in the state of sensual indulgence, like indulging in food, in sex, or even material comfort. This is a state of just your base needs, essential needs. And the thing is, when the desires are satisfied, actually the animals are actually quite gentle and tame. But it's when they get frustrated that they're dangerous. They become like a wild animal. So sometimes we are also in the animal realm. And finally, the sixth realm is a human realm, where humans suffer from hunger, thirst, heat, cold, separation from friends, being attacked by enemies, not getting what we want, and getting what we don't want. This is what, as human beings, we experience. And our life on this world is not terribly long. Even if you live up to 80 years, 100 years, you will still have to face the suffering of birth, old age, sickness, and death. The thing that is shown by the Buddha's life when he was a prince, that he discovered the birth, old age, sickness, and death. He saw old age, sickness, and death, and the holy person. That's the four sides. One thing about the human consciousness is neither too static or organized. We experience two sides. We are neither fiercely competitive or mindlessly sensual, or not driven by neurotic desires. And we also become aware of ourselves as well as other people. You do not become really self-absorbed. And you can satisfy your human need, but you're also aware of your own limitations. So actually the human realm is considered to be most suitable to practice the Dhamma, because as human beings, we're not completely distracted by pleasures, almost like gods or demigods, or by pain and suffering like hells, or like hungry ghosts. So actually human world is a very nice world to be in. A world that can yield a lot of insights for us. Now there are also antidotes for each of this world, and this is where the Buddha appears in each of the realms, holding an object that needed by beings that are needed by beings in that realm. In the Deva world, the Buddha holds a lute or a vinya. What does a vinya represent? It represents the music of impermanence. So when you live in the realms of the gods, in the Deva world, where life is so long, you almost forget that the life is not going to be there forever, that there's an impermanence. So as a human being, when your mind is in the Deva world, the appearance of the Buddha is to ask you to get out of your complacency and self-satisfaction. Do something else. Don't just wallow in that kind of pleasure. Pull yourself out. And that is represented by the music of impermanence, the sound of the vinya. Antidote in the realm of the asuras. Here the Buddha holds a flaming sword. What is that? What does a sword represent? That is a sort of transcendental wisdom. Okay? Now apparently if you're the angry type, you're angry type, sometimes you're very intellectual, very sharp mind, but you get angry very fast. So if you can turn that anger from something destructive into something constructive, the anger becomes like a weapon, like a sword. They can cut into delusion. They can help you develop insight into the truth of reality. So sometimes you have even monks like that, very wise monks. Wow, they have got very hot temper, because it is that kind of that anger that is actually a very sharp weapon. When they turn it to Dharma, it's used in a very sharp manner, so they can penetrate things very easily because of the sharp mind. So if you have the angry type, don't worry, don't say it is bad. Use that power of your energy, of your emotional energy, and use it in a good way, like the sword of wisdom, cutting through wisdom, cutting through delusion. Very sharp knife, very sharp knife. Some of us, unfortunately, patient and all that, but our knife not so sharp. So practice, don't seem to get anything. There are some angry type, but they turn their mind to like meditation. Wow, they can actually make very good progress. Sharp mind. It is actually, you have a weapon, but how do you use your weapon? How do you use your emotional energy? So in the world of Asura, Buddha holds a flaming sword. Say, yeah, there's a flaming sword. You have a lot of this energy. Don't use that in a harmful way. Use it in a good way. Use it for Dhamma. Cut through delusion. And that's the antidote. In the realm of the Petas, this is beings having that feeling of not being satisfied. So this is when the Buddha offer food and drink. Some of the food and drink just to give them some satisfaction, for them to get out. Instead of just thinking about themselves, they become more objective again. Once the basic needs are satisfied, then their mind could actually go back to objectivity, and they can begin to see things in the proper perspective. All right. So when a person is hungry, no point talking to them. Just give them some food. So that's what the Buddha is doing. Get them out so that they become objective again. The antidote in the hell is where the Buddha offer amrita. This is called nectar or ambrosia. This is the first explanation of what we mean by the Buddha offering amrita is that for them to gain some relaxation from their suffering. Just some nectar for them to get out of suffering, the suffering of hell. The second explanation is that this amrita represents nibbana. So they suffer so much, so nirvana becomes extremely sweet. To aim for nibbana, to get them completely free. Sometimes when people suffer so much, when you don't suffer, you don't want to see why you need to get out of suffering. But when being suffer a lot, then nirvana becomes really priceless. Right? So this is the Buddha offering amrita. Can you see? Buddha giving some amrita, some nectar. Right? And in the animal world, the Buddha holds a book because this is a state where beings are not very cultured. The mind is at a very low level, just basic things, basic needs. So the Buddha holds a book, and this means that you need to culture your mind. All right, culture your mind and refine your mind. For people who are not very refined, they are very rough. So this is when they need to cultivate themselves, become more cultured. And in the realm of the gods, the Buddha holds a bowl. And the bowl represents spiritual life. All right. So for us as a human being, Buddha says, okay, this world has life is not too long, but you can begin to see the plus and minuses of life. You can actually understand life very well at a human realm. Please don't get stuck like that. Please also use this opportunity to strive for spiritual life. That's why the Buddha holds a bowl and a staff to say that a good use of your human life is to practice. Is to go for strive for spiritual life. All right, so the 6 words tells us a lot about the realms of existence that we are in and how to deal with them. Now, as you look into the wheel again, you see the 4th wheel, and the 4th wheel there are 12 pictures. These represent the 12 links of dependent origination. It represents the process of cause and effect. From an effect, it becomes a cause. From a cause, it becomes an effect. This is very profound understanding of the Buddha. When the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, he saw this dependent origination into action. All right, and this dependent origination can operate into several lifetimes. It shows us how in our past life it can influence the current life, and from the current life, how it can determine our future lives. Okay? So another way of looking at the wheels is that at every moment of existence, things are occurring in a very interdependent manner, cause and effect. Okay? So if you look in the picture, the first one is called avidya. It's actually, do you see a picture of a blind person? Yeah. A blind person, that's avidya, that's lack of knowledge. That becomes the starting point of the dependent origination because of avidya, lack of knowledge, like a person walking. So because of this ignorance, things start going, the dependent origination continues going round and round. Once you get rid of this ignorance by wisdom, once ignorance is eradicated, then this whole wheel cannot run anymore. That's how the wheel puts a stop. And from avidya, you would have sankhara. Let me see. Okay. Right. Unfortunately, I cannot put this explanation together with the picture, so you need to look at the pictures in your diagram. The sankhara is, you see a potter making vessels. Okay? So sankhara is a state of creating karma. This is what you call constructive volitional activity, creating karma. All right? So because of this ignorance and creating karma, you are providing the cause in the past life to condition the present life. Because of ignorance and the karmic activities, that's why we have the present life. So in condition number 3, the arising of the vijnana. This is the vijnana of rebirth consciousness. Because of the past two links, it causes the occurrence of rebirth. So we get reborn into this life. And it shows a picture of a man or a monkey grasping on a fruit, like grabbing on a fruit or grabbing on another branch, from jumping from one tree to another, you grab another tree. And that is like relinking consciousness and rebirth consciousness. You get reborn in the present world. Right? And because you get reborn in the present world, that's called vijnana. You move on to the 4th diagram, which is called namarupa. This is name and form. You have 2 men afloat in a boat. The 2 men refers to namarupa. Okay, to mental and physical existence. So we begin to have a mind and body. And because you have a mind and body, you then move on to the salayatana. This is a house with 6 windows. Okay, the 5 windows refer to your senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. And then finally, the 6th sense is your mind. So the house represents the mind. Because you are reborn you have a mind and body, and with a mind and body comes the senses. All right? And then with the senses, you begin to have contact. That means because you got the sense base, because you got eye, you can see visual objects. So there is a contact between the object and your organ. So that's when you contact. And when you have a ear is the base, the hearing, the base, sense base. When you have a sound, the sound is able to reach your ear and you can hear it. So there is a contact. And that's also the same with our nose, with our tongue, and so on. All right? So because of this sense basis, then you begin to have contact. Contact is phassa. Here, in order to demonstrate what it means by contact, you got lovers kissing each other. There's a contact. From your organ, from your sense basis, you are able to get the contact with the sense objects. So there is a contact. And after the contact, you have some feeling. Vedana. You either like it or you don't like it, or you become neutral. All right. So these 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah. These are five factors. You have vijnana, their consciousness, person grabbing the fruit, the man in the boat. There's name, nama and rupa. They get 6 sense organs. Then you got contact and you got feelings. All right. So these are the effects of being born as a human being. But because of this effect, now it gives rise to a cause. And the cause is that because you got this feeling, what happens? Thirst arises, tanha. Greed arises. Greed, when it comes to, it shows a drinker receiving a drink. So you develop attachment, it develops greed. Okay, so this becomes a cause. From the effect, it becomes a cause. And after you have greed, sometimes you want more and more of it. It becomes attachment. It becomes upadana. Okay, like a man or monkey picking fruits. Upadana, grasping. And because of this grasping, it gives rise to becoming bhava. All right. So these are what you call fresh cause. The fresh cause that can condition a future life. Because there is becoming, it will condition jati, birth, into the next life, your future life. All right, like a human woman giving birth, and then when you have birth, you got jara, marana, you got old age and death. So can you see the first 2, avijja, sankara, the first 2 link will be from your previous life. That is the cause from your previous life. From the cause of your previous life, it gives rebirth to this present life. And there are 5 here, five factors. One is vijnana, namarupa, salayatana, phasa, vedana. Okay, so these are the five things. Okay, and because of this is what called effect in the present life. Effect in the present life. What happens when you begin to have that sensation of feeling? It gives rise to tanha, to thirst, and then after it grasping, and then becoming. So this is the cause of the present life to condition your future life, birth and old age and death. So this talks about the dependent origination, and you can see that in this dependent origination, one way of stopping the will is to make sure that after the sensation arises, it doesn't lead to craving. And the way you can identify this is when your mind becomes sharp, your mind becomes very mindful. You know that craving arises, but you don't give in to the craving. You can handle it. Say, for instance, something pleasant has arisen, but it doesn't lead directly to craving. So this is how you can actually put a stop. And then how about Yama? Yama is a lot of death. It holds the will, because this is the will of the entire cyclic existence, samsara, that's transient. Everything inside this will is constantly changing. And Yama will, he's got 5 skulls, and this actually represents the impermanence of the 5 aggregates, mind and matter, 5 aggregates. And then he's got 3 eyes. The third eye represents the wisdom of impermanence. So Yama also can see impermanence. He's got 3 eyes. The third eye is impermanence. And sometimes you see him wearing a tiger skin, which means fearless. Tiger, fearless. And he's got 4 limbs. 4 limbs clutching the wheel. It represents birth, old age, sickness, and death. So as long as you're in samsara, we are under the grasping of Yama. We are under the control of Yama. The Lord of Death, you also see impermanence. All right? And then we have a moon. The moon represents liberation from suffering or from samsara. It shows a desirable state. Where nirvana itself is a cessation of all unsatisfactory experiences. And their causes are, of course we talk about the removal of the causes of suffering. So the moon. Moon is the ideal state. And then we have the Buddha pointing to the moon. Okay? The moon means the Buddha showing the path to liberation. And the Buddha shows the path for us to practice. And the destination is the moon. Don't mistake the finger of the Buddha pointing to the moon to be the moon itself. So sometimes people cling on to the instructions, whereas the instruction is to lead us to the liberation. Yeah? So the Buddha's path shows us what to abandon and what to practice. And the nature of the path is more like an exploration. All right? And so the path is already there, but we ourselves need to walk the path. So the entire wheel of life is a representation of the possibility of transforming suffering by changing the way we relate to it. Okay? So you could see that actually the wheel of life is very, very meaningful. This is to see that each of the states are not eternal. It depends on the strength of karma. When one's lifespan in that state is over, one gets reborn into another state based on karma. And so it is a beginningless process. You could see cause becomes cause, influence, effect, effect, influence, cause, and it goes around like that. So it becomes, the beginning is almost beginningless. You don't have a beginning. And moving from one realm to another, which is called the realm of samsara, or of cyclic existence. All right? So, so that is my presentation this morning. I hope that after hearing this presentation, you have a better understanding when you go to Tibetan temples and when you see Wheel of Life, you are able to explain what it means. I remember that when I went to Bhutan, there was a Wheel of Life, and I was explaining this Wheel of Life to the group because of this kind of understanding. Otherwise, you see it just as a lovely picture. This was my tourist guide who tried to explain it. Then I took over, and he found that my explanation was much deeper than what he knew. He's a very good tourist guide, but unfortunately, because when Bhutan started raising the environment tax and all that, the whole tourism industry collapsed. So now I think he's not even in the industry anymore. Recently, he had to do a hate surgery because of a growth. And he's got, I do not know how he supports himself now. I hope he recovers. Sometimes the motivation of going to Bhutan is just to give him something to do. He's an excellent tourist guide. Very bright person, speaks very well. But what do you do in a country where you don't have alternative forms of employment? There are not many in Bhutan. Right. So, if you have any questions, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
My question is relating to the comment about it's better to be born in a human realm. Thinking, reflecting on my own life, when I was young, I didn't exposure to the Dharma, so a lot of bad karma were created. So I'm thinking, wouldn't it be better to be born in the heaven realm, associated with those who continue to learn the Dharma, have that thought rather than coming back to the human realm? Because if I'm unlucky in the next life, I don't get to be exposed to the Dharma in the human realm, then I will generate more bad karma. What is the reason that? What I'm talking about.
Okay, I think one of these things, as part of what we do in a puja, we have the aspiration. We make aspiration. The aspiration says that may I not associate with foolish people. Then may I, imina punya kamena mami bala samagamo. And it says that through this merits that I have accumulated, may I not associate with foolish people, and may I proceed on along the path of Dharma to attain until the path of Nibbana. That means one of the very important things that we need to do is always to remind ourselves to dedicate our merits, so that we don't fall under bad influence, and we also benefit from good friends, because that will help to chart our spiritual life, that we create positive karma. So it is very important to do that, because sometimes when we do merits, we do not tell the merits how to ripen. And if it doesn't ripen, for instance, you do a lot of good merits, you might be born in a very rich family, and it is in the rich family that actually causes your downfall, because you get completely spoiled, and then you start creating negative karma. So it is important that the merits itself must support your Dhamma practice. That's why we make the aspiration, imina punya kamena. Yeah. Okay. Now, as we go through our human life, of course, we do a lot of plus and minuses. We could have done a lot of negative actions because of ignorance. Actually, we don't actually realize that these are really bad karma. The way we explain what is bad and what is good is going back to the roots of our action. Whether in our action do we have greed, hatred, and delusion, because that's the roots of evil. So if your actions is motivated by greed, hatred, and delusion, that means that is a negative action. There's an action that will give rise to negative results. But if we don't, when we act without greed, hatred, and delusion, or without hatred, without greed means more generosity, without hatred means more love, and without delusion means more ignorance, more wisdom. That means your actions becomes good actions. All right. So these are the actions that will determine your path. Of course, we do negative karma, but when we do negative karma, it is important for us, firstly, to realize the nature of our karma. Otherwise, we keep on doing something negative again and again. It's like the same thing running again and again, because we don't have the penetration, the understanding of the nature of that action. So it gets us trapped. And because you have not come into touch with the Buddha Dhamma, that is why you were performing negative actions. But when you begin to realize that these are negative actions, then that is the one that flip it, that makes it change. That is how the negative actions itself becomes positive actions. And then that's the one that helps you to set a path to do positive actions. Yeah. So that is very good. From negative, it becomes positive. Now, in terms of where we land up to, of course, the two desirable places that we can land up to is the human realm and the heavenly realm. When you come across meditation teachers, they encourage you to be in the human realm because they want you to practice meditation. And then, human realm is certainly very suitable for us to practice the Dhamma. So as a human realm, like the picture of the Buddha holding a bowl, which says that this is very good for you to practice your spiritual life. Yeah? So please make use of your opportunity as a human birth. But this is not to say that it's not good to be born as a heaven, because people do want to be born in heaven. In the case of Buddhism, being born in heaven is not a matter of like prayers and all that. It is more based on the karma that you have done. All right. So which means regardless of the religion you subscribe to, whether you're a Buddhist, non-Buddhist, you can be born in the heaven based on the quality of your karma. Yeah. All right. In the heaven itself also there are different communities, like human beings as well. Some people will discourage you to be born in heaven because they think, oh, heavenly beings are all enjoying themselves. But surely in the heavenly beings there are a certain group of beings who have practiced the Dhamma. That is why we say once returner, non-returner, because these are the beings that are reborn in higher states, and from there they proceed on to Nibbana. They are not reborn as a human being anymore. So in these realms, there are also beings who find that that realm of existence very suitable for Dhamma practice. So that's the other place that you can aim to. If you land up in the heavens, please be, because of your aspirations, imina punya kamena, whatever happens, may I always be close to the Dhamma, may I always meet good Dhamma friends, may I have good Dhamma teachers. As long as I move along this path until I attain Nibbana, may I have that blessing. So that is your aspiration. So even if you're born in the Deva world, you will be able to find friends that you can practice together, and you might be able to get very good teachers there. So that's the another realm that you can aspire to.
Thank you. A follow-up question is, in the human realm, my understanding is there's no greed, hatred, delusion, right?
Human realm, no, you have greed, hatred, delusion, as well as remember the core of your will. In the human realm, you also have that. In all the worlds, you have that.
In the heaven realm.
Even heavenly realms. But I guess in the heavenly realms, you learn how to control. Instead of greed, you begin to have more giving, more charity, more sharing. Instead of hatred, you have more love. So these are the worlds that you can cultivate these qualities. So it's a matter of how much you watch, how much you understand. When this arises, the greed, hatred, and delusion arise, how can you deal with that in a very skillful manner? And how can you encourage the good roots to arise? So in the human realm, you've got both evil roots and good roots. And we are saying that when the evil roots are there, make sure you control that. Make sure you develop your good roots, because that will enable you to climb up. Remember the path of light? That's the one that will encourage you to climb up. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Good morning. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
There's so many greed, hatred, anger happening around us. Right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
How can we actually move better to the direction of the brightness? You see, as a leader, as what we say, there could be the asura, they have a lot of anger and jealousy and fighting. And as being normal people, we want to practice kindness, we want to practice caring, but there's so many scammers around us. Just like a call can lead us to a problem. How can we, at this level, live in a better way?
Yes, there is always this issue in this era that you're surrounded by good as well as not so good. And the analogy that the Buddhists like to use is the analogy of a lotus. A lotus plant will always grow in a pond where the water sometimes is not very, very clean. And sometimes the water could actually contain heavy metals and all that. It could be quite poisonous. And the lotus roots will actually help to purify things. Eh? And the lotus will rise above the mud, although it comes from the mud. It rises above the mud and opens up its petals. Petals are always clear and beautiful. So that is the way that we should actually carry ourselves in this world, to have the quality of love and kindness in our hearts, and then to rise above the ordinary. But that can only happen when you have the motivations, when you have the right understanding about things, and that you feel that you want to rise up above the lotus. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you don't have that insight or the association, you don't have good friends, you don't have good teachings, it is very easy for us to descend, right? So it is important for us to be able to constantly remind ourselves, because spiritual development is not something that happens like, one moment and just like that. It is an ongoing process. Of course, in this ongoing process, you need to exercise wisdom. You need to have good associations, you need to have wisdom. You have to also listen to other people's experiences, and that will help you to navigate what to do and what not to do. Sometimes when you do make a mistake, then you just have to kind of let it go. Like for instance, some of you might have experienced like maybe you see a beggar coming in and out of your compassion you've given something to the beggar. And the next thing is that you see the beggar has actually taken your money and has gone to the toddy shop to have a round of toddy. And after seeing that, you feel really bad. You say, why did I give you money so that you can take a liquor? No, but the thing is, the second part was not known to you. So if you have actually given that money, you need to just let go, And how he uses the money is really up to him. So you must be able to kind of separate things like that. But if you go and carry the fact that you blame yourself for giving to him, obviously you didn't have that understanding at that time, then it is not really something positive, So you need to be able to like control how you look at things, and I guess as you go through life with more introspection, as you look into yourself, as you begin to grow in the Dharma, then you become wiser. You're being able to act in a more positive manner. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Actually, whether it is a younger generation or our generation, we are all caught in the same thing. It's only that the influences on us are different. We're still being trapped. Actually, there is no difference between ourselves and the younger generation. The external things looks different, but actually right inside, intrinsically, we are all the same, right? So even for us, the younger generation, you have got to handle the greed, hatred, and delusion. Whether you can actually see what the greed, hatred, and delusion is, awareness when they arise, and knowing how to handle them, and transforming greed, hatred, and delusion into something positive. Instead of greed, hatred, and delusion, then you do the opposite of having wisdom, generosity, and loving kindness. Yeah, it is a challenge. It is a challenge, I guess, amongst the younger generation, because the influences that you have on TikTok, on your friends, on the media that takes over your thinking, actually. So it becomes much harder. It becomes a big challenge for them. Because sometimes when you're given this kind of influence, you can't even see what is right and what is wrong. What is wrong is considered to be right. What is right is considered to be wrong. So everything gets twisted. And we have been manipulated by the media. Very badly manipulated. So in a sense that we don't have that much independence. The way we think, the way we feel. We'll be conditioned by many things. So when the conditioning that the young people face is very negative, it becomes a harder task for them. Harder task for them to move out. And it's so easy to get trapped. Yes.
Just an observation. So if you looked at it from animal realm, while we may see that some of the dogs has better life than a homeless man because they live in superb conditions, but the dog will never be able to get the opportunity to move up to higher rank because as an animal, they won't get a chance to do good karma.
Yeah.
Is that right? So that means that dog will forever be stuck in the animal life.
The thing is, each of these realms are not permanent states. Yeah. So the fact that the dog was born as a dog is because of some negative karma. But because the dog has been very well treated, that means the dog also has some good karma that enables it to be well treated.
But they won't be able to do good karma to go.
They will not be able to do the good karma to the extent that human beings is capable of. But sometimes animals also show very good characteristics. They also show, we wouldn't say compassion, but there are certain animals that exhibit extraordinary qualities, yeah? And it will be possible for them actually to rise from a animal realm into other forms of existence. Yes, when their negative karma wears out, then they can actually be reborn in some good states. Yeah, I remember there was a story that comes from Ajahn Brahm's life, where I think he discovered a little kitten which is abundant. So he took the kitten because Ajahn Brahm just loved cats. So the little kitten grew and liked to hop on his lap when he's having a lunch and all that. This kitten is very playful, and he's like Ajahn Brahm's cat, But the problem with this cat is that at the monastery, Bodhinyana monastery, a lot of donors will come, they give food and all that. At the end, after the food has been eaten by people, the extra food they give to birds and all that. So there are a lot of birds there. So this cat, being a young cat, likes to pounce on the birds and kill the birds, So after a while, the monks had a meeting. They know it's Ajahn Brahm's cat. The cat is very fond of Ajahn Brahm. Ajahn Brahm is very fond of the cat. So they have decided that in order to protect the cat so that it doesn't create bad karma and killing so many birds, to give the cat away. So eventually they put the cat in a basket, and one of the devotees came and the lady devotee took the cat home. And the house is actually very far away. So the cat was not consulted whether he likes to be given away or not. So when the cat was given away, he discovered, oh, where am I? Why am I here? So the cat was not happy. So after a while, the cat completely disappeared from the house. So that was actually being reported to Ajahn Brahm. And a few days later, the cat actually, it was scratching on the glass because they have a sliding door scratching the glass. And what do you see? You see the cat came back to the monastery, came back to Ajahn Brahm, and the house itself is many, many kilometers away. And how does the cat know its way back to the monastery? Crossing roads and going through jungles, there are streams and all that, through the bush country. And a cat is able to walk back to the monastery, which is amazing. So this is a case where the monks wants to protect the cat and thinking, oh, this cat is creating bad karma. Maybe don't give him the opportunity, give the cat away. But the funny thing is the cat found his way back. And of course the cat was not given away again. Yeah, but even cats even animals can do good karma. Yeah. So in none of these states are permanent states, but I guess it's also a matter of good conditioning. Yeah.